Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So this morning, a very interesting report came out after some rumblings a couple days ago that Matvei Michkov might be coming over to North America next season. We got a full-on report from a Russian outlet saying that St. Petersburg is going to be willing to terminate his contract. He's going to play for the Philadelphia Flyers next season. So I thought, considering he's going to be a day one impact guy, it wouldn't be surprising if he is maybe even their best forward next year for the Philadelphia Flyers. I thought it'd be a fun idea to give a way too early Calder prediction, considering now it's looking like Michkov, I might wait until it's actually official, but it's looking like Michkov is going to play for the Flyers next season, and he's not playing for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. What are we doing? He's going to be playing in the NHL. On top of the fact that now we know where Macklin Celebrini is going to be playing. He's going to be playing in San Jose. I thought I would give my way too early Calder prediction for the 2024-2025 season now that we have these players in place, because if Celebrini went to Chicago, I'd have a different outlook on him than if he went to San Jose. Stuff like that. Now we have it set in stone, and we know which players are eligible for the Calder. You look at it, a guy like Brandt Clarke, not eligible anymore. Played more than 6 games in back-to-back seasons. Olin Zellweger played 26 games on the dot. He's not eligible. Shane Wright is not eligible this year. So we have a couple guys that almost barely just missed out on eligibility. Stankoven is eligible, though. He only played 24 games this season. So I wanted to dive through my top 10 Calder prediction as of right now. Let's get into it. At number 10, I got Colin Graf. When looking at Colin Graf, signed from Quinnipiac to the San Jose Sharks, played 7 games, the last 7 games for the San Jose Sharks, only 2 assists, which doesn't really jump off the page for Graf. But when looking at it, what really intrigued me, he played 16:36 a night. They trusted him right off the rip, so that tells me that he's at least playing probably 15 minutes next season. He's going to play a serious role on a San Jose Sharks forward core that is not that good. I'm not saying that he's going to go for 55, 60 points, but if he's playing 16 minutes a night after torching the college level the past 2 years, on top of maybe even playing with Macklin Celebrini, I think it's possible that he gets to 40-ish points. And when looking at, especially this year, that would have got you a top 10 Calder finish. So I have Colin Graf at number 10. At number 9, Scott Morrow, who's playing for the Carolina Hurricanes. He's the Brett Pesce replacement. He's a right-handed defenseman, bigger dude, 6'2", 205 pounds. He's going to slide in on that probably third pair for the Carolina Hurricanes. Is he going to put up ungodly numbers offensively? No, but if he can be a very good third pair, maybe even second pair guy for the Carolina Hurricanes, a safe playoff team, he's definitely going to get some Calder votes. I could see him being in the mid-20 points this season while having fantastic underlying numbers. At UMass, the last 3 years, he was like teetering on point per game as a defenseman. Not a ton of talent around him at UMass. UMass is a solid team, don't get me wrong, but Scott Morrow really impressed me at the college level. Looked pretty solid in his 2 NHL games that he played, and he played like 18-30 a night. So Brendan Moore, I think, is going to trust him to replace Brett Pesce. He's not going to be Brett Pesce, although Brett Pesce was kind of bad this year, at least offensively. He's going to get a decent amount of run, considering Carolina's team is going to be a little bit shallower than last year. I think Scott Morrow is going to have a legit chance to play some big minutes, not big minutes, but some serious minutes on a pretty good team, and as a result, get some Calder votes. At 8th, I have Nikolai Kovalenko. When looking at it 2 years ago, or I guess last year, whatever, 2022, 2023, he had 56 points or 54 points in 56 KHL games. One of the best KHL players in the entire KHL. So when looking at it this year, most recently, he had 35 points in 42 games. He didn't go with the NHL team during their playoff run. He played in the AHL. He had 3 points in 4 games. And when looking at Colorado, considering Parise is retiring, on top of Natrushkin being out till like probably mid to late November, I believe, Kovalenko is going to get a look at this and at the middle 6 for the Colorado Avalanche. I don't think he's going to be playing top line with McKinnon and Rantanen, but he's going to get some serious ice time, and considering he played very good at the KHL level, I think that will translate to the NHL level. He's 25 years old. He still is growing. Just got used to the North American game, played a little bit in the AHL, played a little bit in their playoffs. So I think Kovalenko definitely could be an impact player for the Colorado Avalanche, and they're going to need cheap players to replace some of their guys as some of their deals kind of kick in, that Devon Tays contract kicks in. They don't have a ton of money to replace, to improve the team this summer, so they're going to need a guy like Kovalenko to really step up, and he still is eligible. You have to be 26. If you turn 26 before September, you're not eligible. I believe that he is eligible. His birthday is later on in the year or the year after. He's eligible. That's all I know. Dustin Wolf at number 7, I believe. Yeah, number 7. This guy has to finally become at least the backup for Jacob Markstrom. If Jacob Markstrom's traded, he's going to get a serious run. If Jacob Markstrom gets traded this summer, I'd probably have Wolf top 5 when looking at him. He had a 922 save percentage 3 years ago, 932 2 years, 922 this year, the last 3 seasons. He has been dominant at the AHL level. He won goalie of the year, I think his first year, then goalie of the year and AHL MVP. This year wasn't quite as good, but still 922 in the AHL. He's an absolute stud. He played 17 NHL games this season. He's finally getting some run, especially down the stretch when Markstrom was dealing with an injury. He played serious for them. Didn't play that good. He had like an 893, but I think that's just him adjusting in Calgary at that point. Sold off so heavily, they were kind of checked out. So I think if Dustin Wolf, if he gets 25, 30, 35 games, he can definitely be in Calder contention, even if Calgary isn't that good of a team. Number 6, Josh Doan. Josh Doan really burst onto the scene. 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points in 11 games for Arizona, now Utah. When looking at it, yes, he did shoot 21% and played around only 12 minutes, but I think that's only going to go up at the ice time, not the shooting percentage. He's not going to shoot 25% this season, but I think he's going to play a pretty serious role on a solid Utah middle 6, especially if they add some people in the free agency. That's going to be a very, very good forward core, and I don't think Josh Doan is going to put up the same pace that he did. He put up 68-point pace in those 11 games, but can he give you 45 to 50 points as well as solid two-way play? I think it's definitely possible for a guy like Josh Doan. I was not very high on him coming into the season, but considering he was a pretty decent AHL player last year, I think he had like 46 points in 64 games roughly, I believe, as well as showing at the NHL level that he belongs. He's definitely going to be a factor for Utah in their inaugural season as the Utah Hockey Club. Number 5, Lane Hutson. Lane Hutson. It's going to be interesting. When looking at it, Mike Matheson is going to be their number 1 offensive defenseman next season. If they somehow move off him, I would have Lane Hutson top 3 most likely. He's going to be probably power play number 2 quarterback. Very, very good offensively. Historic numbers near about at Boston University the last 2 seasons. Patrols the blue line so fantastic. People said that his game wouldn't translate. It easily did in the 2 games, although they were a small sample size. He looked very good. I think his offensive traits are going to translate to the NHL level. For him, I think 35 to 40 points in his first season is perfectly attainable, and that would get him a top 5 Calder finish. Anything above 30 points would be fine, though, considering I don't think Montreal is going to be that good of a team. But Lane Hutson is an absolute stud, and I think he's definitely going to be in the conversation for the Calder. Next up, Logan Stankoven at number 4. Some people might think that this is low, considering he had 14 points in 24 NHL games this season, has looked very good in the playoffs. The thing with me is, though, Dallas's forward core is still pretty stacked. I'm not sure that he's going to be playing big minutes for Dallas compared to the guys that I do have in the top 3 here. So although he's by far the most NHL proven and on most teams, he'd be either a first or second liner putting up between 55 to 60 points last year. I'm not sure the opportunities are fully going to be there. I'm not sure he's going to be on power play 1. He might be start out on that 3rd line for the most part once they're fully healthy. If they bring back Pavelski, I'm not sure what his role is going to look like. So as a result, I can't have him too high. Love him as a player, has been on the YouTube page before. I've interviewed him. Love the guy, fantastic guy. I think in 2 to 3 years, he's going to be a 65, 70-point guy. But next year on such a loaded team, not sure it's fully going to be. If he does play top line somehow, then he's going to explode, obviously. If he replaces Joe Pavelski on that top line with Robertson and Hintz, yeah, then he's scoring 65, 70 points. But until I see that coming out of training camp, I can't have him that high. Number 3, Macklin Celebrini, 32 goals, 32 assists, 64 points in 38 NCAA games last year, won the Hobey Baker. I think that if he was in a better situation, if he went to basically any other situation besides San Jose for the most part, he would either be first or second, but he's just not going to have that much talent. He's going to be the number 1 center, don't get me wrong, considering Hurdle's gone, Couture is MIA for the most part, still dealing with an injury, but I don't think that he's going to have the talent around him to get to north of 60 points. I'm expecting between 50 to 55 most likely, as well as solid underlying numbers, but overall just San Jose just doesn't have what it takes to get him to that potential Calder finish. He is a fantastic player, but I like the 2 guys that I have ahead of him in terms of winning the Calder, considering they have far more young, explosive, offensive talent around them. Second, that is Matvei Michkov. Some people might say, oh, he should be first. And don't get me wrong, I think that if he was maybe in a different situation, not saying Philly is a bad situation, he probably would be number 1 when looking at him. 19 goals, 22 assists, 41 points in 47 games. My one concern with Michkov is how he's going to work with John Tortorella. John Tortorella that demands defensive defensive play. Michkov is not really known for caring that much about on the defensive end, so I could potentially see him in the doghouse, on top of the fact that they have solid offensive talent. Konechny is very good, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure if he's going to absolutely gel and immediately become the guy there with fantastic passers that can set up Matvei Michkov. Konechny isn't really like a pass-first player for the most part. They don't really have a distributor in terms of their forward core at a high level. So I still think that he's probably going to, I'd say like 25 goals, 35 assists for 60 points. He can generate his own offense. He's still going to be fantastic. He still is my second best overall prospect, or best prospect overall, considering Bedard obviously graduated, but he's my best prospect in the entire NHL. So when looking at it, he's going to be fantastic. But next year on Philadelphia, they're going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be that offensively explosive. And if Tortorella doesn't really love his two-way game for the most part, it could be interesting, and it could not go south quickly, but maybe it could be a little bit disappointing in terms of a rookie. You're going to be a stud when it's all said and done. At number one, though, Cutter Gauthier, when looking at it, 37 goals, 27 assists, 65 points in 41 games at the college level. It was the most goals, I believe, of the 21st century by a player, or by a player that was like under 20 years old. He was fantastic this season, and I think he's going into a very good Anaheim situation. Not sure they're going to be a good team overall, but I think with that forward core, he played one NHL game. He played with Leo Carlsson and Alex Killorn. I think he's going to factor into their top six immediately, and Leo Carlsson, Mason McTavish are that more so passing guys that can set up a Cutter Gauthier. And when looking at it, I think he's going to walk into on that number one power play right out of the gate and be their go-to option. I think they're just going to toss ice time at him. Look at a Michkov, might not exactly be the case. Cutter Gauthier is going to be a fantastic scorer right out of the rip for the Anaheim Ducks. He would be my Calder prediction. I think the Ducks are going to be a pretty decent team overall, but especially offensively with the amount of pieces that they have. If they can stay healthy, I could see if Cutter Gauthier, if we wake up on mid-April of 2025 and Cutter Gauthier has 32 goals, 32 assists for 64 points, I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked. I think 30 and 30 is really realistic for a guy like Cutter Gauthier. So when looking at him, he would be my Calder pick right now. I agree. I think Celebrini and Michkov might even be better players next season. Do not get me wrong. And they're definitely going to be better players down the line. Cutter Gauthier is a 2022 guy. Michkov 2023. Celebrini 2024. But I think given the offensive potential, the offensive explosion power, I think that Cutter Gauthier might be in the best spot for a rookie that is still a rebuilding team that wants to give their young guys. Leo Carlsson walked into the NHL this year and played 18-30 a night. So I think Gauthier is going to get a shit ton of ice time, a shit ton of opportunities on that power play go-to one-timer. He is a fucking sick one-timer, man. So I think Cutter Gauthier right now would be my Calder pick. Maybe that's bold. Again, I understand if you have Michkov, Celebrini, or even Stankoven or Hudson over him. I think 1 through 5 can go anyway. I think we have a clear-cut 5 entering this season, unless I'm forgetting anybody. I don't think Demidov is going to play in the NHL next year. He still has 1 more year on his contract. Leshinov, maybe. But besides that, let me know in the comments, what do you think about my Calder leaderboard, Calder prediction? Again, Graf, Morrow, Kovalenko, Wolf, Doan, Hudson, Stankoven, Celebrini, Michkov, Gauthier. Some other goalies, Askarov, I think they're going to wait on him. Soros, I don't think is going anywhere this summer, so he's going to be in the AHL again. Wallstead, I maybe would have had him on this list, but then they re-signed Fleury, so I don't think that he's going to get a ton of run unless they're going to trust a Fleury and a Wallstead tandem. I think they're going to run back Gustafsson most likely. You're not going to run a goalie that old and a goalie that inexperienced. That could be a disaster. So, yeah, let me know in the comments. What do you think about my Calder leaderboard, Calder predictions? And I'll be seeing you in the next one.